Welcome to Thank You for Your Reply, where we dive deep into the strategies and insights of real estate's most innovative professionals. I'm your host, Rich Pedersen, founder of the Reply AI. Each episode, we explore the real practices driving success in today's market. No fluff, no pitches, just real conversations with real experts sharing real results. Today's episode is another PropTech Pioneers spinoff, which is a special segment of Thank You for Your Reply that brings you conversations with the minds behind real estate's technological transformation. While our main series explores the daily experiences of real estate professionals, these focused episodes introduce you to founders and innovators who are creating practical solutions for the industry's biggest challenges. In this episode of the series, we are joined by Anton Zajac, founder and CEO of IntellCRE, an AI-powered platform that helps real estate investors and agents find, underwrite, and act on deals much easier than before. Before we dive in, please make sure you subscribe. Your engagement helps keep the show running. And without further ado, here we go. Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning into another episode of PropTech Pioneers. Today, we're joined by Anton Zajac, of the CEO and founder of IntellCRE. And thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
So, why don't you start out, just talk a little bit about your background and what got you to founding this company?
Sure. Yeah. So I have a scientific background. I have two PhDs, one in string theory and the other one in mathematical physics. So I was researching, finding some problems in mathematics and theoretical physics to tackle. And I felt an urge to transition into a sort of business in a search of a problem that I can solve using mathematics and using the available technology. A problem that if we're successful at solving it, we will be able to see the fruits of our work within our lifetimes, within 5-10 years, not in 200 years when we're finally colonizing the universe and, leveraging our knowledge about black holes and wormholes, which is kind of the problems we're looking at previously in my scientific career. And so I transitioned into real estate. We started building a private multifamily fund in Southern California. And right after we started, systematically building the fund, so we started working with brokers, we started looking at deals every day, we started, analyzing, trying to find the best opportunities. Right then and there, we were basically hit by, multiple problems that we were facing every day that all had to do with pretty much, the lack of technology, the lack of, centralized data for investors and brokers alike. And it was really painful because, we had 30 opportunities to look at every day, and it would take us the entire day or 2 days just to underwrite a single opportunity, gathering all the data and, really figuring out how much the property should be worth, how much we should offer, or pay for the property, right? At the end of this 1 or 2 day workflow, we had a price we were confident about. And so we submitted our offer just to find out that there's 3 or 4 offers that came before ours. So, game over. And that was just one opportunity. But as I mentioned, there are 20, 30 opportunities every day. And so this really it was very annoying. And so we started looking for solutions that would help us automate the whole process. So aggregating the data, running the analysis for the property and things like that. And we tested and tried everything out there and nothing really worked. So really what we're realizing is that there is this gap on the market when it comes to, tech solutions for investors. And the second thing was that working with brokers, a lot of brokers every day, we were seeing that they were having this very similar, in fact, the same problems, that again had to do with just how much manual, there is and how much manual work there is behind every, commercial real estate or real estate deal in general. It drags on for days, if not weeks, And so, long story short, one of the brokers that we used to work with heavily, Eric von Blucher, and myself, we, teamed up with my high school classmate, tech guru, and we started building IntellCRE as the missing solution. So IntellCRE stands for Intelligent Commercial Real Estate. It is a platform where we combine the data, so basically centralize all the necessary data, and an AI, or set of AI algorithms that really package into a beautiful interface. And the platform really helped simplify how investors and real estate agents find, evaluate, and then act on real estate deals, right? So they can, using the platform, they can do that in just like 3-4 clicks. And really, by doing this, we're eliminating days, hours, days, sometimes weeks of manual work that go into each deal. And of course, offering, unprecedented speed to market. Real estate is a numbers game. And so this platform is something that does give investors and agents the competitive edge.
Yeah, I can see that. And time is money. So they're all
That as well.
saving time. They're saving money. Yeah, that's why everybody wants some more money in their pocket. Okay, well, thanks for the breakdown. That actually answered my first question, which was, what was the specific pain point that sparked the idea?
Yeah.
And the only other part of that question is, how did your personal experience influence its development? Is there anything where you brought in your string theory or other parts of?
I mean, definitely. I come from a family of scientists, physicists, theoretical physicists. All of them changed career paths and ended up building successful tech companies. Both my father and my brother, and the sort of thinking that you get from, or that you have to learn or adopt to do theoretical physics. Very analytical thinking. You take a problem, you start simplifying the problem, down, and you try to, basically solve the problem in a certain way. That kind of thinking is, I think, good, is excellent if applied to any problem, in general, and especially in business, right? Because any business problem will turn out to be more complicated than you thought. But without this sort of thinking, it can be hard to approach or start coming up with a solution. But it definitely influenced my contribution into the product, right? I can maybe just bring one example, because normally the way properties are analyzed, or I guess the entire financial market, is basically encoded in Excel spreadsheets, right? And even a basic metric such as an IRR, internal rate of return, that investors, stock investors as well as real estate investors, use to basically gauge how well a certain investment is going to perform over time. Even that calculation is not, it's a complicated iterative calculation. And the way Microsoft has this calculation defined is not the most accurate way. And so we actually had to really go all the way, down to the roots, if that's a good word, to actually build our own algorithm for calculating IRR. So definitely it was influenced. And yeah, so the question that you had previously, the pain points, it is the time inefficient and cost inefficient process of underwriting. That was the first problem that we started solving. But it's also access to data, right? Because if you need a lot of data in order to be able to accurately underwrite or analyze a property. You need market level data. What are the rents, doing? Are they growing? How are they growing? What are the vacancies? What's the vacancy in that market? You need to know how quick or slow the properties in a certain market are appreciating, right? All of this market level data significantly affects, a viability of a certain investment. But there's also a property level data or deal level data. You need to know, information about the property that you're looking at, be it the current rents, or be it how many apartments or units, what's the square footage and things like that, right? All the way to how the property has been operating, where the operational efficiency and things like that. And so there's so much data that you need. Normally it's you're juggling multiple sources. Most of them are paid, so you have to pay subscription to,
and formatted differently, probably.
yeah, and there's nothing sort of consolidating all that data. You need to do everything manually. So you need to go to one platform to look for certain data point. You're paying a subscription for that platform. Then you go to a different one. Then you go to a bunch of free sources, like some websites, listing sites, or whatever. And you're aggregating all this data manually. And so what the platform does is basically eliminates this need for juggling, and doing the research manually.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine just a tremendous amount of processing in the background to be able to just collate everything from different data sources and different spreadsheets and whatever, wherever all those things are stored. And because your platform, it's national, right? It's not just.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So,
In fact, even it goes even beyond just US. We do have some clients in South Africa, in Europe, and Canada. Though we haven't really integrated any data sources for those regions. But nevertheless, the platform is so flexible that you can do a custom integration. You can integrate the platform with a certain database that you're using, or maybe in a combination with a different data vendor, and you can use the product. So we built it in that way from the very beginning to be able to run some pilots, in countries outside of the US, right? Because this was a global problem from the very beginning.
oh, yeah.
The way properties are analyzed, it's the same everywhere. The only thing that changes is the underlying data.
Can you walk us through a real world example of how IntellCRE transforms a typical real estate process and like what kind of results your clients are seeing?
Yes. So let me take a use case of a broker. So they say a broker is starting to work with a potential seller, for instance, right? So the process is that they, in order to start working on a proposal or sort of broker opinion of value, which is basically taking the property that's the subject property that this seller has, and figuring out, all right, so the property should cost between this much and this much, right? These are the comps and things like that. And so they need to prepare this proposal, show it to the seller, right? Normally the process is manual. So the broker is going to have to call the owner, email them, and say, all right, I need this document from you. I need your books and records or whatever. Just give me some basic financials. If it's a multifamily property, usually it's professionally managed. So this conversation is being relayed from the owner to the property management company. And so there's this Bermuda triangle of emails and calls, that the broker has to deal with just in order to get some basic data so they can start working on the proposal. Once they have this data, then they open up their Excel and they start, manually putting the data in. So, things like rent rolls, expenses, things like that. In order to figure out the market rents at the property, they need to start doing the pro forma rent research. They go to listing sites maybe, or they use some data providers, some data platforms, looking for similar properties that have units or apartments that are for rent, right? And figuring out how relevant they are to this property, and then assembling a set of these properties or the rent comparable set. And then from that set, they need to calculate, all right, so this is the potential rent or the market rent, this property, right? And so I don't want to go into too much detail, but basically the same for sales comps. So looking at properties that were sold in that market in the past, 12 months or something like that, figuring out which are the best ones to basically use as sales comps, and then basically running the analysis in Excel, manually, right? Once they have the financial model that comes out of this whole process, and this process, we're talking, anything from hours, couple of hours to maybe with the data aggregation to a couple of days even. Once this is done, they want to turn this into a proposal or into a so-called BOV, broker opinion of value. And for this, they might use a few pictures of the property, some basic information, and they basically assemble the pictures with the description and with the sales comms and with the financial model into some sort of document, broker opinion of value, some PDF document, let's say, and then they send it back to the seller. They review it, and then basically they're deciding whether they're going to work with that broker, whether they're going to be the selling agent, right, for that deal. So all of this and the putting together a BOV, that could be anything from a couple of days to even weeks, and all of this is not guaranteeing that the seller is actually going to end up working with this broker. So they might be doing all of this to no avail. And so so extremely time inefficient, right? And then once they decide, then there's some following process. What they can do with IntellCRE, for instance, for this particular workflow in this particular use case, the moment they are beginning to work with the seller, They tell them, go to our website, use the widget that's there, beautiful widget that we built, custom put on your website, or just send them a link, forward this to your PM company. They will click on the link. They'll be guided through a super simple process that guides them on how to provide all the necessary data points or upload any financial documents that they might have. The moment they do it, they submit it. All the data is processed on the back end by the IntellCRE system. The missing data points, they can be reminded about the missing data points. Additional data is being pulled and the deal is being analyzed automatically or pre-analyzed. The broker and their team, they receive a notification. You have this deal from this seller, already, ready in your deal box or your inbox for deals on the IntellCRE platform. They go in, they see the deal, they basically finish the underwriting, the valuation in 2-3 clicks. They just look at the sales comps, make sure that they want to use them, look at the rent comps, things like that, polish it up. They're in control. The system is not trying to force any value on you. You are in control of the underwriting. And so they click a button. In a click of a button, AI pulls the photos, all of this data, and turns it into a beautiful broker opinion of value, 50, 60 pages, and you're already sending that back to the seller. So the process that might take several weeks, you're capable of doing in several minutes on the platform, right? So sorry, I went into too much detail, but that's just fun.
No, that's incredible. The more diminishing returns, the more busy a broker is, the less time they're going to have to sit there spending days or weeks making a BOV.
Yeah. And then they might start to cut corners, right?
Yeah.
Like, all right, let me not turn this into a nice BOV. Let me just turn it into like a 1-page, right? And then they send it back. And then who's the seller going to work with if they get proposals from several agents? Well, you're right. The proposal is representing the quality of your work in a way, right? And so the better proposal you get, the quicker, the more likely you are to actually secure that seller as your client, right? And so that's very important.
Yeah. Speed to lead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And then
I mean,
yeah, one bad copy paste from when you're cutting corners.
yeah.
Sorry, what were you going to say?
Yeah, and then there's the investor, use case. Before this platform, I was actively looking for deals every day. Again, checking multiple platforms, and I found a deal on some platform. I wanted to underwrite it because it looked like a good deal in a location I really loved. And right then and there, I had to stop because I don't know the unit mix or something like that. And so how do I get to that information? So let me call the listing agent to figure out what the unit mix is, right? So I'm calling, the call ends up in a voicemail, and so that's it, right? And the next day they call me, and so now what the platform allows me to do, or allows investors to do, is basically you pick your market, you pick your buy boxes, right? The feature in the platform that's called Deal Finder is going to automatically search for deals that are fitting your basic criteria, as well as are fitting or meeting some more advanced criteria. This is still sort of in a process, so we're building up this whole functionality. But basically, the idea is that the platform will identify the markets. If you also have the question like, all right, show me the markets, right? If you know the market and just show me the deals in that market, the platform is going to search for all the deals, pre-underwrite them in the way you would, maybe first some initial screening, then maybe it will go deeper and perform a more accurate underwriting for deals that, come out as interesting. And then it's going to identify the best opportunities, and it's going to notify you about these opportunities, right? And it's going to preemptively generate an LOI, have it as a draft that is going to be sent to the listing agent, for instance, or maybe some proposal sent to the owner, if it's going to be an off-market deal. And basically, you're going to just review what the platform is showing you as the best deals, and you're capable of clicking a button and sending out offers. If once we connect all the dots here, we're going to have some sort of autonomous investing system, right? That will really save you all the hours every day of searching for deals and getting stuck on, not having some data.
Yeah, cool. And that you said that's you're developing that right now?
Yeah, we have. I mean,
I think I
we
saw
have
it on
this.
the website. What was
Yeah,
it called?
we have this in beta, still running some tests and still some improvements to be launched, especially around data. Like, ideally, you want this deal finder to be able to choose any sort of filter that you like. Like, all right, I'm interested in finding off-market deals that were not in transaction in the past, I don't know, 20 years, have deferred maintenance. The owner is between 75 and 85 years old. They're not a resident, so they don't live on the property. Maybe there's some tax delinquency or something, right? So you want to be able to identify the deals that are the most probable to happen. Both, if you're a broker or if you're an investor, right? You want to identify those deals and be able to analyze those deals without necessarily knowing all the data and all the nitty gritty things that are happening at the property. And then you want to have a rough picture of, all right, so this is gonna, this property would probably sell for this much, and it would be a good deal for me because all these things in my strategy, what I want to do with it, and things like that. And then having that system basically work for you, do the research for you, and you basically simplifying how you find the value and act on deals, and all the best ones for that matter.
Oh, okay. Looking at the intersection of AI and real estate, what technological barriers did you have to overcome when you were developing this, and were there any unexpected challenges that emerged while you were developing it?
Yeah, there's a lot of challenges that are raising, and every day there are challenges arising. I was surprised that some of the challenges that we thought were not going to overcome, we successfully managed in a fraction of the time that I was expecting. I can just provide an example. An example is a good example is parsing or extracting data from uploaded documents. So, like if you take a PDF and you upload it somewhere and you want some system to extract some reasonable data from it, we thought that it would be impossible to do this to a satisfactory degree of to a certain degree of satisfaction,
Yeah,
right? Like, let's say,
of
99,
accuracy.
yeah, let's say 99% satisfaction rate, and 99.8% accuracy, whatever, right? And we thought that was impossible, but within weeks we were able to actually get to that accuracy. And this big challenge turned out to not be such a drastic challenge. Basically, there's some other challenges. Data and the quality of data out there is always going to be a challenge, because even if you take things like the US addresses, right? You can have a property record somewhere that has a different address than a record for the same property with some other data provider, or the county assessor, for instance. They make a mistake when writing the address, right? And now that screws the data. And so every day we're overcoming these difficulties. Something that would be like related to our AI engines, not so many challenges. There is a general challenge, not just for us, but for any AI company, which has to do with the fact that in order to train some AI model, you need to expose it to the data, right? And some companies, luckily in real estate, is not as strict and sensitive as in some other industries or verticals. But if somebody wants to have an AI model, but they don't want their data to be in any way seen by
Oh
any
yeah.
algorithm, right? Or then it's a problem of how do you I think it's called like a knowledgeless AI or something like that, right? So models that get trained on the data without actually knowing the data, and so this is a general problem that is gonna still be there until somebody solves it.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Then think of. Okay, and so how do you see platforms like IntellCRE coexisting with or enhancing the human element of real estate transactions?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we are by no means are we in the business of replacing, humans. We're in the business of tech enabling them. We'd like to build the right basketball shoes for people like Michael Jordan, right? Or similar, not having some system that plays basketball for them. So there's always going to be a human element. I mean, that's what makes a good broker a good broker or a good real estate agent. Their profound knowledge of the market. They know the owners, they know the buildings, they know their stuff, right? And of course, they have the relationships, they have the network, and they basically, they provide very valuable service, right? Because you might know what you're buying, or you might, you're looking for something. They basically are providing the service of you finding the right property, or you selling your property, at a good, value and things like that. So that's never going to go away. In fact, the clients we work with, usually when they start using the system, they grow with less resources, and they hire more people into their team. So they're, one of the clients we had, one of our first clients, he's a KW agent. He had one office, and now he has four. And he went from one office to four in Florida, I think, in a year and a half or something. So they're really, they're doing well. And of course, we're proud that it's also thanks to, our technology liberating their hands from, the crunching numbers or building brochures, and they have time to, work with more clients and serve more clients. So the system is 100% built to coexist with brokers and investors. It's not replacing anybody.
And it's, I think, giving them time to work to nurture those relationships, networking with their clients and serving their clients, not sitting slaving away in front of a computer to make a presentation.
Yeah. And that's important. That's important that you these people have now the time to better serve their clients, and not spend it on manual tasks or aggregating data manually.
And they can have more clients themselves because there's time being served up to them that they're saving. So looking into the future, take your crystal ball out, what emerging technologies or trends do you believe will significantly impact real estate in the next 2-3 years, and how is IntellCRE positioning itself for those changes?
Yeah. So the biggest part of the real estate market is the residential, right? It's, let's say it's 50% of all real estate is residential, 60, right? And so that's where we see the technology, that's where we saw the first technology companies, stepping in and, empowering, residential agents. Multifamily, from the commercial real estate side, is the largest segment. And so that's where we are seeing, some companies, making some dent. But there's so much more, there's other commercial real estate classes, and then some that are now booming, like self-storage or in certain areas. And so we'll see all these verticals being covered or served by some tech companies. We'll see the data improving and access to data improving, especially because every property has life cycle, right? Maybe on average it gets sold every 12 years, or maybe every 10 years, or every 8, right? And when the property is on the market, a lot of these data providers are able to capture that data, right? And then the longer we wait, the more properties, the data for more properties will be available in more sources, from more sources. So the access to data is going to get better rapidly, which will enable some really sophisticated evaluation AI engines to be successful. And I hope ours will be one of such engines. The second thing is that the trend is that people no longer invest locally, right, in their backyard. They invest in different states, sometimes on the opposite coast. They're on West Coast, they invest on East Coast, and vice versa. And so this is one component where we see that a digitization of real estate deals is the next step that needs to happen. And so now that people no longer invest just locally, you can crowdfund your deal or whatever, you never need to meet those people or those LPs and things like that. Now, why don't we take any real estate deal and digitize it completely? So it happens online. The entire life cycle of that deal happens online. Well, the barriers to do that have to do with the barriers that we're trying to lift at IntellCRE, which is a big part of every real estate deal still happens offline. Underwriting being one of that, somebody on their computer, they have an Excel model and they're running the numbers, right? And so that's an offline part of the real estate deal. And so we're taking that online, right? And we want to take the other remaining pieces that are now still heavily, happening offline, online. So we actually have an environment where the deal can entirely happen online. And what that is going to open up, these avenues that are going to get opened up by this, will mean tremendous increase in efficiency and possibilities that we cannot yet even imagine, like tokenization of real estate, and if you use blockchain to track the maintenance for a property and things like that. I'm looking forward to seeing this happen, and we're actively working on contributing to this happening sooner, and so we want to be there for sure. The other thing is that the brokerage is going to get more and more digitized. All the brokerage companies these days, they know some are more forward thinking and they're already devising steps to create some sort of digital brokerage environment where brokers have everything, they sign up or whatever into some environment. They have training, legal, data, analysis tools, things like that. And so with those more forward thinking brokerages, we're already, in conversations as IntellCRE being part of that environment. And the same story is going to be on the investor side. So they're going to need a CRM, data. They're going to need deal management. They're going to need some maybe financing, crowdfunding things. And people like to have all the tools in one package versus just use a fragmented landscape of different tools. And so that is what's happening. And again, would like to be there, seeing how we can help.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you guys are in a good position to do that. Foreseeing everything and having cracked the code on how to make your system work and be able to take in all those different types of data and make sense of it in an accurate way. So cool. Yeah, well, I think that about wraps it up. And we can I'll put in the show notes. For anyone interested in checking this out more, a link to IntellCRE and also how to book a demo and everything. So is there anything else you want to add in before we end?
Anybody who feels like they have some challenges or, with around their underwriting workflow or around their deal sourcing workflow or deal marketing workflow, or just, would like to explore ways how they can find, evaluate, and act on real estate deals, in a simpler, faster, more efficient and smarter way, definitely go check out, intellcre.com with double L. You can book a call with our team or with me, or you can, join the free trial and, test out the platform, and we'd be happy to discuss, the solution can be used or utilized by them or their teams.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Anton. I really appreciate you coming on and talking to us. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
That wraps up another episode of PropTech Pioneers. A big thanks to Anton Zajac for providing a deep dive into the development of IntellCRE. If you're interested in trying out the software or even investing in it, please check out the info in the show notes. As a special promotion, Anton has given the Reply AI a special promo code you can use for 15% off your subscription. Just use the code ReplyAI15. To our listeners, you can find show notes and links below this video, or if you're on audio, they will be in the show description. If you enjoyed the episode, please like and subscribe so you'll be able to catch the new episodes when they drop. Until next time, keep innovating, keep growing, and remember, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems.
How much time do you waste on manual tasks like finding deals, processing them, and building packages? And how much is it costing you in commissions? IntellCRE is here to help you close more real estate deals faster and with less effort. Save hours with powerful automation tools like instant property data and easy rent and expense uploads. Access real-time market data, sales, and rent comps without searching multiple sources or paying for expensive subscriptions. And generate accurate property price estimates in seconds. Eliminate costly marketing teams and endless revisions by instantly turning your deals into custom-branded BOVs and marketing materials, so you can reach your clients faster and earn more business. Capture more qualified leads in real time with DealBox, which guides clients through a simple process to upload and deliver financials, books, and records seamlessly, straight to your deal inbox. And with Deal Finder, you can automatically find deals for you and your clients, staying in sync with the market at all times. Join top CRE professionals nationwide who are already winning more opportunities with IntellCRE. More than just another subscription, IntellCRE saves you time, money, and simplifies your life. Join today and experience a smarter, faster way to close more real estate deals.
Hey, did you catch that bit about the 15% promo code? Use Reply AI 15 at the checkout when you sign up for your subscription.